President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is headed to Washington, D.C. for the historic trilateral summit with United States President Joe Biden and Japanese Minister Fumio Kishida. President Marcos will be in Washington from April 11 to 13. On top of the joint meeting with Kishida and Biden, the president will also meet with the U.S. President for a one-on-one bilateral meeting. Department of Foreign Affairs Acting Deputy Undersecretary Hans Mohaimin Siriban previously said that the trilateral meeting of the three countries seeks for peace and stability of the Indo-Pacific. The DFA clarified that the trilateral meeting is not targeted towards any country. However, the DFA admitted that the recent disputes in the West Philippine Sea will be discussed. The trilateral meeting also comes a few days after the Philippines held joint naval drills with the US, Japan, and Australia in the West Philippine Sea. All countries have condemned China's consistent aggression in the disputed waters, which has only grown since Marcos assumed the presidency. There is an uptick on the presence of China Coast Guard and Chinese maritime militia vessels monitored in Scarborough Shoal, according to the Armed Forces of the Philippines. AFP spokesperson Colonel Francel Margaret Padilla says that there were 4 Chinese Coast Guard ships and 20 Chinese maritime militia vessels monitored within the vicinity of the shoal on Tuesday afternoon, April 9. Usually, there are only 2 Chinese Coast Guard vessels deployed at a time inside the lagoon of the triangle-shaped chain of reefs and rocks which forms the maritime feature. However, Padilla refuses to speculate on the reason behind the increase of China's ships and vessels. Meanwhile, Padilla says 1 Chinese Coast Guard ship and 4 Chinese maritime militia vessels were seen in the vicinity of Ayungin Shoal, where the BRP Sierra Madre is currently grounded. 1 Chinese Coast Guard vessel, 14 Chinese maritime militia vessels, and 1 People's Liberation Army Navy warship were spotted near Pag-asa Island, while 3 Chinese maritime militia vessels were monitored in Panatag Island, according to Padilla. China seized control of Scarborough's lagoon in 2012 following China Coast Guard standoff with Philippine vessels. Beijing believes it owns almost the entire South China Sea, including the West Philippine Sea, even if such a claim has been effectively invalidated by a July 2016 international tribunal ruling that stemmed from a case filed by Manila in 2013. The landmark decision also covered Scarborough Shoal, which was declared a traditional fishing ground that should be shared by the Philippines, China, and Vietnam. The Philippines envoy to Washington says the country's patience over being harassed by Beijing in its own waters has now been stretched to the limit. In an interview, Ambassador Jose Manuel Romualdez says the Marcos administration has taken a multilateral approach on the maritime dispute in the West Philippine Sea. Romualdez adds that the Philippines has been patient and accepting of the situation in its own waters. Romualdez also says that the Philippine government is not looking for a fight against China, but rather the government wants to settle the conflict. Meanwhile, Ambassador Romualdez also warns Filipinos that we may lose our country if we continue to sit still amid the dispute against China. On April 7, the Philippines, together with the United States, Australia, and Japan, conducted their first ever joint maritime exercises in the West Philippine Sea amid China's increasing aggression in those waters. The online recruitment effort of part-time military consultants that was traced to China is now considered a national security concern by the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Armed Forces of the Philippines spokesperson Colonel Francel Margaret Padilla says that the government is considering this incident as a national security concern, adding that the scheme could have been made to obtain internal military data. When asked about the possible motive of the scheme, Padilla says that any attack in the cyber domain can be monetary or data-driven. Meanwhile, defense spokesperson Arsenio Andolong says the AFP was ordered to investigate what he deemed to be a modus operandi. On April 6, Manila Bulletin's Art Samaniego revealed a strange online recruitment effort to a military website that claims to be affiliated with a U.S. military advertising agency. According to Samaniego, the US-based agency with a website called militarymedia.com denied affiliation with the militarymedia.group, which posted its advisories on its Facebook page. Samaniego learned that the website's credentials, which have since become inaccessible, were found to have a Chinese origin. Meanwhile, Padilla adds that several active military personnel were learned to have expressed intent to apply for the position through Facebook, but Padilla says they don't have an exact number of the personnel. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. says the government will find ways to revert the school calendar to its old schedule as soon as possible. In an interview following the Bagong Pilipinas town hall meeting on traffic issue, the president responds to proposals from some educational groups to bring back the school vacation from April to May due to the scorching heat.
Hanggat maaari, gusto natin balik sa dati. Dahil I think medyo may consensus na talaga na mas maganda yung dating schedule.
Marcos adds that there is a consensus that the old school calendar is better than the present. According to the President, the government will look for solutions to speed up the process of returning the classes to its old calendar schedule.
Hindi naman sinasabi na hindi natin gagawin before next year or the year after that. So subukan namin gawin, sa aming palagay, baka mahirapan pa tayo. Ngunit hanggat may paraan, gagawin natin ang paraan para mapaaga at mapabilis ang pagbalik sa normal na schedule ng mga bata.
Meanwhile, Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte had previously said that reverting to the old school calendar cannot be rushed due to considerations for the rest periods of students and teachers. The Metro Manila Council passes a resolution mandating the adjustment of working hours of local government units in the National Capital Region from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. According to the resolution, all government offices under the local government units located in the National Capital Region shall adopt a modified working schedule from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. The resolution states that the working hours were adjusted to improve Metro Manila's traffic and commuting conditions. It also states that implementing a standardized working schedule for government offices in Metro Manila will contribute in reducing traffic congestion. Aside from LGUs, the national government agencies within NCR are also encouraged to adopt a modified working schedule, provided that they ensure continuous and uninterrupted public service delivery. The resolution will take effect on April 15.